data doesn't lie. And that's the number one way you've got to make decisions in your business with marketing. You have to look at the data. If you don't, then you're producing stuff that people don't want.
Hello, welcome to Heart Inspired, a show dedicated to highlighting individuals in their pursuit of authentic leadership, peeling back the layers to uncover the roadblocks they face, explore some of the actions they take, and what keeps them on track to continue their journey to be the best version of themselves. It is my hope that you will be inspired by their stories and gain some insights to help you in your own journey. I'm your host, Michelle Delgado.
When it comes to sales, some people are naturally designed to be in this role. Perhaps the career of selling chose them as much as they chose it. We cannot remain stuck in "this is how it's done," or "we've been doing it this way for years," with no plan to change. As a famous Greek philosopher once said, change is the only constant. When selling, we need to be mindful of our consumers' needs, their time, and competitors. Whether we are selling from B2B or B2C, it's important to be aware of what will resonate. In this series, my guests will share their journey and provide insights and perhaps inspire to review your sales technique so that you can continue to be successful. Aimee Montgomery is a fractional CMO, founder, and digital marketer at a Call to Thrive digital marketing agency. She develops digital marketing programs and services, helping coaches and consultants create effective marketing strategies to produce measurable results. Before starting a Call to Thrive, Aimee worked 30 plus years in sales, marketing, business development, and project management. She has served Fortune 50 clients while working for a Big Four, scaling accounts with very little revenue to accounts worth $54 million. Aimee has also served as a CMO for TV public figures in both conventional and digital marketing. She believes there is no one-size-fits-all marketing tactics. Whether your ideal client is B2B or B2C, each should be approached differently. In addition to her marketing talents, Aimee is an artist, book lover, and creator of dollhouse miniatures from Frisco, Texas. Today, Aimee and I will discuss how important it is to have a solid marketing strategy side by side with your sales strategy. Please welcome my guest, Aimee Montgomery. Aimee, it's so good to see you here. I'm so excited that we're going to be talking about my favorite love-hate relationship, which is marketing, and how important it is to all of us as young entrepreneurs. I just want to welcome you, and I really appreciate your time and your expertise to talk to us today about how important it is marketing with sales. So I'd like to turn it over to you and just give us a little bit about your journey and how did you get into marketing?
Yeah, so it was quite a long journey for me. I think that really my first experience in marketing started at Deloitte.
Okay.
So I was there for 7 years in a department called Strategic Relationship Management, which was basically sales. And because I was in a smaller office, I took on two hats, sales and marketing. And I took on more accounts than anybody else. I had 12 accounts where most people have like one. And my accounts were smaller. And then by the time I left, I had the largest account in the nation. It was worth $54 million. It was quite a journey of being able to go through that whole life cycle. But that was my first experience of really just learning the B2B sales and marketing and how people were getting these pieces of work at these Fortune 50 businesses. And it was just really the psychology of relationship building and not so much about advertising, although I created a lot of brochures and things like that. And we had a lot of events. That was my first, that's where I got my feet wet. And then when I left there, and I had my feet in a lot of different things, from the project management to the business development to you name it, and I think it was because of the office I was in, and I had more industries than anyone else. So I had like power and energy. I had, some of my clients were, it's been long enough, I can talk about them, Nike and Amazon, Costco, Eddie Bauer, Puget Sound Energy. I had a few hospitals. So it really helped me to learn a lot of these industries. And then I became a certified industry practitioner in consumer business, technology, and also industrial products.
Wow.
So, and I was almost going to do the power and energy. I had everything done except for the hours of project hours and all of that, except for I just needed a couple of classes. So I was really close to that too. So being an industry expert, understanding the ins and outs of all of these industries, and then the sales and marketing and the business development. And a lot of people don't know, but we would coach people through kind of, like leadership coaching, bring a CEO in if someone needed to fill a spot, coach a leader in their spot so that they could maneuver. So I got to sit in a lot of those meetings and listen to a lot of experts. So it wasn't just tax, and it wasn't just, bookkeeping or whatever. I would definitely hear those discussions, but a lot of it was also strategy. So it was a huge learning experience for me. And then we learned innovation and how to turn businesses into Fortune 50. So that was the Fortune 50 world, right? And then I left there. I moved out of state, and that was tough because Texas, the industry is different, and my education there, or my education and my experience really didn't transfer to the oil and gas. And I had one oil and gas client, but I didn't, that was it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a lot of experience as far as like just your regular type of business,
Yeah.
So I started to just do B2B, or actually B2C, working for public figures on TV.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of them had, like e-commerce stores. They're selling books on television. I'd mock up the book they're going to sell that didn't exist. They promote it. If we got sales, then I would do all the fulfillment. So I learned about fulfillment. I learned about all of the products and all of that, the television, the writers. And I started initially doing a lot of writing to get sales, to bring in about $500,000 a month, and what it took to do that. And then, and manage the marketing team there. And then, and doing a lot of direct mail, all that, the old fashioned stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I went to the next public figure, I did a lot of direct mail, but I also started to then get into YouTube.
Okay.
And that was my first, like, oh, okay. And I was doing YouTube on the side, always wanted to be a YouTuber. And I had a podcast in the back of the day, and, I had started a business, a nonprofit many years ago, but that was my first. And I was able to win him a silver play button in growing his YouTube channel. And then I got training directly from YouTube. And then I helped, they started a brand new account. I was able to grow from 12 people to $500,000.
Wow.
And that was learning SEO mainly, and looking the ad and the analytics and everything. And so that was, I got my feet wet, and I was in this department with more people that were doing digital marketing. And that's when I went and started to get my certifications. One of the directors there, she had gotten all her training from digital marketer. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This, like it's the online stuff. And I had a side hustle as a business coach after I left Deloitte. And I couldn't figure out how to make the online thing work. It was so frustrating for me. And I grew this YouTube channel. I had a viral video. I sold a course, but I didn't know what was next. It was like a one-hit wonder, right?
Yeah.
I sold the course, and then now what? And I wanted to do the one-on-one coaching, and I wasn't getting one-on-one coaching clients, and I didn't know how to set it all up and make it all work. And it looked easy. I would see other people on social media. It was so frustrating. I looked at all these people and I'm like, it looks so easy. I'd analyze their ads. I'd be like, what are they doing in their ads? And try to figure all of this out. And you're just like, it can't be that hard. But then when you go to try to do it, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. And because it was frustrating, I'm a problem solver. That's what made me go back and take all of these classes, and I was going to learn until I figured it all out.
Tell me a little bit about what has been the one thing that has evolved for you to be that kind of marketing salesperson that you are. What's the emotion like for you as you go through that journey with somebody?
I have a little bit of coaching background, strategic intervention coach through Tony Robbins. And I think, and having a nonprofit for many years, help kind of coaching people. I think that's where I kind of get some of my coaching skills and that patience to, and sometimes I'm not entirely patient on the inside. I just want people to get it, like, why can't you get this?
We all have that.
Yeah. But having a framework to walk people through that has worked, that is both very intellectual and process step by step by step by step, to bring them through so that they can come to the same realizations.
Yeah.
Having a framework that I can do that helps, because I get my opportunity to dump all of the ideas, which I absolutely love to do. And they get an opportunity to score those ideas and choose.
Yeah.
And I think that helps me a little bit with the process that I bring people through, and having patience with them in that. And then and just that understanding that everyone has to walk through the journey, and having patience with them going through that and walking through it is just, kind of part of that learning process, I think.
Yeah, very interesting. And so you are now, after having run a nonprofit, you've been big YouTuber, you've been at Deloitte, you're now in your own agency. What's that like? So now you're not only the person who serves others in their marketing strategy, but you are now wearing the hats of, as a solopreneur, all these positions. You're the CEO, you're the CFO, and you're the salesperson.
Yeah.
So how does your sales and then your marketing kind of pair together? Why is it so important to walk hand in hand with those two things together?
Yeah, I think that typically most organizations, the sales and marketing are at odds with each other, right?
Yeah.
And, it's a fight of who's more important and which way we should be doing things. And sales is like, I'm not getting the leads that I need. And, marketing is like, you just don't understand, that's pretty typical.
Really?
And so the process that I bring people through, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit today, it's that psychology of relationship building. It actually brings sales and marketing together. And it's a process to kind of integrate what sales and marketing does.
Yeah.
And if I'm working with a team, which I do work with teams, in fact, right now working with a team, there's a sales team there. And then we have to make sure that they're getting the leads that they need and that they have input in that process. And so because it includes them, then that strategy comes together.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So walk us through a little bit more about that with the psychology and how it all kind of comes together for the final product.
Okay. So let's approach it from this perspective.
Okay.
When most people get stuck in marketing, they'll get stuck in three different ways. And I know you've heard me say this before. Either they're trying everything because they don't know what works. So it's like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall, right?
Yeah.
The next one would be they're a one-hit wonder like I was. They, YouTube, launch a course, sell it. Now what? One-hit wonder, right?
Yeah.
Or they found something that did work, and they've gotten their business to a certain place, but now they don't know what's next.
Reach a plateau, kind of.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So it's important to approach it all from a holistic perspective, instead of trying to go to bat and hoping you hit a home run with this one thing. A lot of people do that. They'll put all their eggs in one basket, and they'll spend a ton of money on one tactic. And then what happens if it doesn't work, right? So in order to create that predictable growth, there's three components that I have in my process. One is your documented strategy, and that is, I always call it the blueprint that is based upon the psychology of relationship building. And I call it that because it's the customer journey, but I call it that because that's what it is. And it's so easy to violate that relationship process online. And if you're not aware of that it exists, and that's what makes digital marketing work, then it's too tempting to run an ad to cold traffic telling them to book a call with you right now, or run an ad to cold traffic and say, buy from me right now. And everyone's done that.
Yep.
I mean, nobody's going to admit it, but everyone's at some point gotten desperate and like, why isn't this working? I'm just gonna, because it seems like that's what would work. But it's bringing people through that process and understanding where you can put those ads if you're going to run an ad, and why, like we all get those DMs from people in LinkedIn that are selling to you right away.
Oh,
They
so
don't,
annoying.
yeah, and it's because they don't understand that psychology blueprint. And the
Mhm.
reason why that never happens in real life, you would never go to a networking meeting and say, hey, buy my product,
Yeah.
like you would
Yeah.
never go, what can I sell you on?
Yeah.
Unless you want to be seen as kind of the sleazy salesperson, right?
Hmm.
And people do that online because they can. And in a networking event, people would glare at them. They would get this reaction, right? So they're not seeing the reaction. And because they don't see the reaction, they don't realize what they're actually doing. So that documented strategy is the proven strategy. It's how people come into your business now. And it's how to optimize it for whether you're doing online or offline, how you're going to optimize to get more customers into your business. And because you're not going to violate that relationship, and you're going to follow that process, it's going to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next thing is fresh tools and tactics. I realize I do things a little bit different than other marketers that are offering the same thing that I'm doing this last week, because I was kind of going through this checklist of from another marketer. Okay, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. So I'll bring people through this strategy,
Okay.
and we diagnose where they need to focus. And then most agencies will give them one or two tactics that they can try to get them a quick win.
Mm.
I don't do that. I give them everything, absolutely every tool and tactic you could possibly implement into your business.
Mm.
And I pack it on every level, from awareness to monetization to retention, all of that. I give them all of the marketing across their entire business. And then we go through a process of scoring what's going to have the biggest impact on your business, how confident we are it's going to work, how easy is it going to be to get done. And then we take those top scored items, and that becomes your project, those 3 projects for the next 90 days. And it's also ties back to what has to happen in the next 90 days, right? The final piece is a growth scorecard. And this is measuring your marketing. And this is the number one thing people skip over, but this is how you know things are working.
Yeah.
And, I could come into work at any day and go, oh, it doesn't feel like my social media is growing. It doesn't feel like people are visiting my website. And you go there and you start to track it, and it's like, okay, tons of people are visiting. And it also allows you to figure out and diagnose where you need to focus. Because let's say you decided to do an ad, and okay, I got tons of traffic, but nobody is signing up for my services. Okay, that's where I need to focus: the conversion stage, the subscribe stage. How do they get into my email list so I can follow up with them? How do I get their phone number? So there's all those little isms, and it helps you to get out of your own mind of like stuck in your mind of what you think you should be doing.
Yeah.
So those are the 3. And you clearly, because we're working across the entire organization and integrating the sales process in that, it kind of brings everything together.
You talked a little bit about tools and things like that. You don't tell us wash, rinse, and repeat, use the same ones, or be open to seeing what's new. And how often do you review new tools that you use in your business?
Yeah. So every 90 days, I bring myself through the same exact process that I bring clients through. And the process that I bring people through is I mentioned the 3 components that you've got to have, but then what I add to that is called the growth flywheel. And that has a couple of different phases to it, but it is the actual process of producing predictable growth in your business. It's diagnose, which we kind of talked about, ideation, where we go through all the ideas, execution, and then you're going to track all of those things, report out, and then you're going to go back into diagnose again. And so if you say, let's say you're not tracking your data, well, now we don't know what's working. So we don't know now what to do in ideation to take the business to the next level. And that's what, the cycle that you've got to bring your business through on a continual basis and test those things. And what I find is most businesses won't test, even if I give them the growth scorecard and say, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I'm looking at my Google my Google app, my dashboard, and I'm just looking at the track. I'm like, that's only one piece of the pie, right?
Yeah.
Data doesn't lie. And that's the number one way you've got to make decisions in your business with marketing. It's too easy to get stuck in your head of what you think, the emotional connection you have to the graphic that you made, that you posted, the email that you wrote that you thought was the best and nobody likes it.
Yeah.
You have to look at the data. And if you don't, then you're producing stuff that people don't want.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's a lot of people miss. And in fact, I've worked with people in the past that love their social media graphics. It was so important for them to post these graphics, and it was for a very good cause and everything, but they didn't have any engagement because people hated the graphics. They were bad. And I said, we've got to pull this. And they're like, we don't have time to pull this because we've got to pull this. And if we move it, then people are going to think that we didn't post anything. And I'm like, they think that now. They're like, what? I said, if nobody engages with your post, guess what? It stops showing to people. So even if they're following you, they're not going to see your content. And it means when you have D-rated content, never produce it again. So anyway, all that to say is data doesn't lie. So you have to rely on that data and bring yourself through that process over and over and over again with your business. Where do I need to focus? Where am I struggling? Am I struggling with leads, awareness, conversion? Like, what is it? Okay, what are the strategies that will solve that problem? Okay, what am I going to focus on? What's going to have the biggest impact? What's the easiest that's going to get done? And how confident that I am that it's going to work. And when you put those all together and you're bringing yourself through this, you're always growing your business.
Yeah. You had mentioned to me, we had a conversation about how some people are not maybe as versed or a fan of digital marketing versus traditional marketing. So can you kind of walk us through where the two are combined? How are they different?
Yeah, and this is interesting because we've kind of reached an era where there is no difference anymore, especially because of COVID and more people online and all of that, less networking meetings and all of that. You could rely on referrals, which I think a lot of people do. But if you're going to actually go out there and market your business, if you ignore digital marketing, it's like you're just walking around with a blindfold on your eyes. Just choosing not to deal with it. But the truth is that everybody is online. Even the people that used to not be online are now online because they had to be. And so, if you ignore that, say, in the past, you could have just ignored your website because you're out there, you're networking, you're meeting enough people, you're getting enough clients, and, nobody cares. But now they do care because let's say they find you on LinkedIn and they go to your website and it ruins your credibility, or they see what you're posting on social media and you're not posting anything that's business related. You're posting your hobbies.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, I don't want to work with that person. Yeah. So you have to have, a strategy. And it's not that you can't be yourself and all of that on social media. Like I definitely have silly things I put out there and I'm authentic, but if you don't put the credibility out there and connecting on purpose with your ideal customer base, and what's going to happen is the ones that are doing that are going to take your business. They're the ones that's going to win, because at the end of the day, especially like, let's say in leadership coaching, because I work with a lot of leadership coaches, it's the trust factor. Yeah. Do they trust you, and how much do they trust you? And the way that you can get over that is by building that presence online with the right copy on your website, the right content that you're posting, all of that awareness content that you do, that's building trust.
Yeah.
And you may not feel like you're connected, especially like if you do video, let's say you put tons of video out. I'll do that a lot. People will run up to you and say, oh, I know you. Hi, and you're like, I don't know you, but you're giving your ideal clients that opportunity to get to know you by video.
Can you give us a story of a client or customer where there were the big no-nos, that their assumptions of what it was like and how you corrected those, or what did you bring to the table to get them to see a better way of doing things?
I think the ones that have had I would say there's two, but really the issues that they were having kind of around some of the things that we were talking about where,
Yeah.
and this is a common one I see, is let's say they blog a ton and they think that tons of people are reading their blog. Like they've got hundreds of blogs out there. And then I look at their traffic and there's nobody's visited their website in like over a year. And, so I'll suggest like maybe we should do some SEO to get some more exposure to your business. Wouldn't it be nice just to have it organically being found? Like
somebody with eyes looking at it, right?
Yeah. And I'd look at the keywords and not a lot of people, there wasn't a lot of competition. It'd be very easy for them to really just shine. And they're like, well, how do you know that nobody's looking at my website? So I bring up SEMrush, put their website in, hit search. And they're like, what? I didn't realize.
That must be so eye-opening.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that a lot of people don't even realize that you have to submit your website to Google for it even to show up.
Mm.
And that's another thing too. It's like, if you don't have the Google Search Console and you got to go in there and submit your website so it's indexed and put your sitemap in there. I work with people that don't even have a sitemap and they don't know that they don't have a sitemap. And so, it's like that level of nobody can find you because you don't exist in Google, even though you have a website.
Right.
So you deal with some at that level. I've had people come to me and say, my ideal clients aren't on social media. I'm not doing any social media. They think that LinkedIn is not social media for some reason.
What?
Yeah, it's in their head. That's not social media. I need to only meet with CEOs with no budget. And that's my target. So I've had clients like that, bring them through the process. That was actually one of my first clients. And he had found me on Upwork. He's a change management coach. And I said, okay, I can help you. And I was happy because when I brought him through this process, he says, I have to tell you that I'm extremely impressed.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I won him over.
Yeah.
Strategies. And he actually went on to getting the clients he needed. He only needed one client a year because his products were so expensive. So, he just sold one and then he's good. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was able to solve his problem, and give him a lot of opportunities to continue on that journey. So
when you take on a new client, I'm going to shift gears to some tools that you've mentioned, and what tools are some basics that people have? And, is there a preferred that you use? Is there one better for somebody else? Tell us about some of the tools that you use in your business today.
Yeah. So I keep mine very cost friendly.
Okay.
I guess, I planned my technology out from that perspective and for the long haul, rather than going after all the ooh shiny cool stuff.
Yeah.
Even
like
though
a
it's
shiny new penny.
Yeah. And I find a lot of people will go like after ClickFunnels, for example. And then like your website looks like everybody else's because ClickFunnels looks the same. Not everybody needs ClickFunnels, but they just think that they do because that's all they hear. And then how many people, I would meet all these people that had this subscription and I'd ask them, well, how much money have you made? And it's like zero. And my biggest lesson was when I got that viral video, when I was the one hit wonder, back then I still use ConvertKit. I used ConvertKit, but ConvertKit was extremely basic. They had landing pages that was a white page. All you could do was type a headline and put subscribe. And I got 400 people in my email list every single week with ugly landing pages. Wow. And what I realized was it was more important for me to provide value than it was how fancy my stuff was. And when I realized that, and I knew that I had success, even though even I look back at some things that I'll find it's still there's still a lead magnet out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was still out there. Remove. You go through that process of learning and growing even in your own, whatever you create. But, so because I knew that I could grow my business no matter how fancy my stuff was, I listen to other marketers on the sensible stuff. So as far as website goes, I use Elementor and I use Astra. Why? The Astra's theme. Why? Because Astra is the fastest theme that you can use. And what's important about that is your website has to be fast in order to rank in Google. So, okay. And it's the most flexible to use, and you can turn it into anything that you want. So that's what it was logic. It was a logical decision. Okay. Everyone uses this. I'm using it, you know, when I started out. So that's what I did. And then, I started with online courses. I started kind of with everyone else. I did Thinkific. And then that was costing me money. I had to pay and just to be able to sell courses. I planned it out after I did several courses and they were selling and stuff. I moved them over to my own website with LearnDash, WooCommerce, all of that. And I planned that purchase out, and I knew that it was going to be less expensive than any other option. It also
great.
has like cart flows that does the upsells, downsells if you want. You can do affiliates. You know, it had all of the bells and whistles to allow me to grow my business as I go. You know, we need a CRM. Like I mentioned, I use ConvertKit. I've also used, all the other fancy ones, Infusionsoft, and, there's a number of that I could list, right? I found that although they're fancy and they're wonderful and they do cool things, they're complicated and not always easy to build things that you need to get done.
And is it specific for an industry that you would use these tools, like the CRM tool?
No.
Okay.
And I think that let's talk about this, because I think email marketing, a lot of coaches and consultants skip it. And it's probably the biggest mistake that they're ever making in their business, especially the ones that are especially guilty is career coaches, because they help somebody, then that person gets a job, and then they think, well, they're gone now, right?
Yeah.
It's a transaction with them.
Yeah.
But really, when you want to scale a business, you want opportunities for people to continue to buy. You want to offer VIP opportunities. You want to increase your monetization.
Yeah.
So having an email list allows you to do things like offer a community to paid, the paid subscribers and people that are your current customers. You can offer a newsletter that costs something. You could do, any type of learning, like a learning platform that you leave with your clients when you go, that keeps them on top of mind, and they remember you, and they have a tool to train. So there's all these different ways that you can continue to monetize your business once that transaction is over. And when you don't have an email list, you also have less opportunity to get referrals.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And you could be giving all kinds of, help in people's, actual career and networking events. Maybe they want to leave their job again, and you're the one that's doing the networking event. So that's the number one thing that's missing. And I would say 100% of coaches and consultants that I work with do not have a lead magnet. All they have on their website is book a call.
Yeah.
But they're missing one step in that relationship process.
Yeah. I find that lead magnets, which you have educated me on quite a bit, and I knew what they were, I just didn't know the terminology at the time. But I see that it has to be refreshed just like anything else.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't just keep it, it can't just be the same old thing there. I had a client just recently share with me, I had it on there. It was a PDF form because then you could protect your brand or what have you.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have it where you can just expand in Adobe, because, that's another avenue that you have to pay a subscription in order to have all those creative things, I had to change it. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have to make it more user-friendly, because otherwise nobody's going to want to download it.
Yeah.
So luckily he was kind enough to, he was like, hey, just want to give you a heads up, but somebody else might say, oh, screw this, and they're out of there. So yeah. Lead magnets have to be refreshed just as much as anything else.
Yeah. And you need to get feedback. I have one that I sent out that I thought that I created it in Canva and then downloaded it as a PDF, and I put little boxes and for people to fill in. Well, I didn't realize that just because you put a box there doesn't mean they can now write on it.
That's exactly what I did. I created in Canva and it was a PDF and it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like they can't write on it. So then, yeah, I had to go back, open it up in Adobe and put the actual text boxes in there and save it again for them to actually write in it. And yeah, so it's all those little caveats that, and you know, your business will go along and you'll grow and grow, and your business is growing. You didn't realize that something needed to be updated. And yeah, there's the update. I have a binder where I list all of my lead magnets, and then all of my products that I sell in like, I have what's a tripwire. It's a small dollar offer that I usually give when people will subscribe through a lead magnet, and what that is, what the dollar amount is, then the email sequences I have that are connected to it.
Mm.
And because it's a booklet, it allows me to track and kind of know what I'm, you know, what I have. And so when I go in and refresh, I'm going through my binder. Okay, it's you know, 3 months. I'm refreshing my marketing and I'm going through all my lead magnets. What needs to change? What's working? What's not? Let's look at the data.
So Aimee, tell us where we can find you, where clients, if they're interested in having some digital marketing strategies and, you know, online help with growing their business on the social media channels, where can they find you?
Yeah, so if you go to acalltothrive.com, that one's easy to mention. You can also go to aimeemontgomery.com, but A Call to Thrive is easy. They go to the same website. Okay. And you can book a call there with me, and that's free. You could just click on there and tell me about your business and see if I can help you. And then I have my programs outlined there as well. So I've got on my services page, I have a bunch of the services listed. And then at the very bottom, there's a little shopping cart. And if you click on the shopping cart, it shows you all of my services.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an extensive, like I have over 200 that I offer. So if you really wanted to get into the weeds of what I offer, you could do that. And then my Accelerate program, which is a yearly program of fractional CMO support.
Awesome. So, awesome. Yeah. And your podcast, which drops how many times a month? How many times a week?
Yeah, for a while I was doing it every single week. Now I do it a couple of times a week. I have about 9 left from this last year of doing over 200 podcasts this year that will be landing. And I just started to schedule. So I'm doing some fresh content now too. So awesome. Yeah, a couple of times a week. And then I started to do a new sort of a marketing Monday where I do some sort of marketing tip on Monday.
Okay, very cool. And I know you're heavy on LinkedIn, which is where we met, but you're also on all the other social media platforms. So we'll have all of that information on there. Definitely want to follow Aimee on her social media platforms. What else? What's on deck for you for the rest of the year? What's going to be your big push or goal that you would like to achieve by the end of the year?
Yeah, I feel like I have all of my solid programs now set up, and it's taken me, this long to get there, but they're working and they're exactly what people are needing. So I have a couple of people that have hired me for fractional CMO support for an entire year. They get access to all my training. And so I'd like to get a couple more people into that.
Okay.
And then maybe, a few more social media clients.
Yeah.
Managing the social media. Those are on top. And then I've got a lot of people in my email list that are there for creating and selling courses.
Okay.
And so I'm really focused on that group that's on my list and trying to help them to get their course creation to the next level.
Yeah.
And I will be creating 3 more courses for my membership.
Okay.
I'll have 12 courses then in my full-on membership, and in December I'll do a full-on launch for that membership program where they get access to my courses. So yeah, so it's more courses and it's a couple more clients.
Very busy lady, very talented, and just so much information. It's almost information overload. I wish I could take like a file cabinet and just put it in your brain and then just take it out and go, okay, I need to do this, because I have to do some certain things, baby steps. But it's been a great pleasure to have you on the show today. I'm sure the audience is going to learn lots and lots of things and tips and bring awareness to their social media and their marketing strategy, which they may have been ignoring and shouldn't be. And so I appreciate all of your knowledge and your friendship and your expertise, for sure.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So you have a great day, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Tune in next week. Thank you for listening to Heart Inspired. I'm your host, Michelle Delgado. And don't forget to lean in, be heard, and be inspired. This podcast was created by Heart Metrics Consulting, editing and co-produced by David Castle Productions, and co-distributed by Business Travel 360. For more information about Heart Metrics Consulting, visit us at heartmetrics.com.